Welcome back to MVM. Today we have a review of Gunkimono. This is from Renegade Game Studios, and it is a 2 to 5 player tile placement game. It's their big Gen Con release, or one of them, and it is fast and furious and pretty aggressive.
Yeah, it's, as you said, 2 to 5 players, and it can be played in under 60 minutes.
Yeah.
It's largely abstract. However, the theme is that you are representing one of the daimyos in feudal Japan, and you're advancing your armies onto this battle map here in order to gain victory points or honor. At the end of the game, it's all about victory points. However, honor matters as well because it allows you to claim control in some of these specific areas. So let's talk about the components. The game board is placed in the center of the table, and here you're going to have the victory point track with your daimyo on the 0 space. Here is the battlefield. This is where we're going to be placing tiles in order to gain either honor or victory point. We'll explain how that works in the actual game itself. And over here is the honor track where you're going to be progressing your honor tokens up in order to claim some different types of rewards.
Yeah, you're going to be claiming strongholds that are going to go out onto the battlefield, and then you're also going to be claiming some victory point tokens if you're the first, second, or third person to the top of these tracks. Also, it wouldn't be a tile placement game without tiles. So everyone is going to start with small armies, which are these individual armies, one of each color in front of them, and then everyone's going to get 3 large armies from a stack from the center of the table that's going to be drawn from for the entire game.
Yeah, these army types, there's 5 different types, and they represent things like archers or samurai or cavalry. But largely, as we said, it's completely abstract, so all you really need to worry about is the color that you're placing up on the board itself. One other note, this is going to change, reflecting the number of players. So the strongholds are going to start in different positions and be available earlier or later, depending upon the number of players, as well as when you're going to claim these reward tokens or victory points, depending upon how many players are participating in the game. We have a 4-player game set up. Every player has their tiles in front of them. They're going to start with 3 of these. They have their daimyo. Their daimyo is going to be set to the 0 side because once you flip the board and get 100 points, you're going to flip it over. And then one final thing is the game ends in a very non-traditional way. There's no real turn structure or round structure within the game. You're simply going to take a turn until you trigger the end game. And that happens with this set of tiles here. You're going to see this tile here that says that you're going to put 5 large armies under this, plus the end of the game tile. So once all these tiles have been used by the players, you're going to draft from this. And when the end of the game tile comes up, that's going to signify the end of the round, and that's the last round, hard stop it in.
Right.
All right, so on your turn, it's very simple to play the game. You're going to take one of your tiles and you're going to place it somewhere on the board. This is called placing an army tile. There's a couple of rules here. Number 1, you're going to notice 2 different types of armies. You cannot place these over top of the same type. So you see blue here on this right-hand side. I can't put this in a position that's going to place it over another blue one. So I'd have to switch this around. It doesn't matter if you can read it or if it's legible. They can be twisted and turned any way that you so wish.
Right, and the key here is what you're trying to do on the battlefield is create large sections of the same color. And what's interesting is players can share these things because the scoring is going to be such that I can score a section and you can score that section. That is until the strongholds come out.
Yeah. One of the other rules is when you place a tile, not only do they have to be different underneath, but you can't place them in a way that makes them lean as such. Right. You have to have a support structure. There's one way of getting around that. You can take any one of your single tiles and place it upside down and put it underneath there to support that particular structure if you so wish. These are also one-time use tiles, so you can use them either as a support or for the actual value that's on the front side of it.
Yeah, which leads us to the scoring. Once you place a tile, you're going to be able to score, and there's 2 different ways of scoring. We mentioned earlier, this game is about victory points and honor, and they both are intertwined. But just to let you know, as you can see on these tiles, there are these little stronghold icons. If you place a tile and you want to score honor, you can choose to score those values. So this yellow side would have 2 honor, the blue side would have 1 honor. Or you can choose to score victory points for the colored areas you create, or a combination of the 2.
So if you choose to score honor, you're simply going to mark your progress on the track over here, depending upon the color that you scored. So in that instance, you move up 2 yellow and then 1 blue, depending upon what was on that tile. On the other hand, you could score 4 victory points, depending upon the color coordination of the board itself. In this case, I have 3 browns, or dark reds in this case, and I'd move up 3 victory points on the track, and only 1 blue because there's no blue surrounding this. So you have a decision to make at that point. You can score victory points, you can score honor, or you can split it in half and score 1 and 1 of each.
Right. It's really cool. So if he split it there, in that case, he could get 3 victory points and move up 1 on the blue track with the 1 honor.
The next thing that happens is you're going to assess your strongholds. Now, very early in the game, no one's going to have any strongholds on the board. But as you progress up this track, you're going to notice that as soon as you get to a very specific point in the game, when all of your colored honor markers line up with your first stronghold, you're allowed to take this stronghold and place it somewhere up on the board. When you place that, you're basically claiming that location for the rest of the game, allowing you to get reoccurring victory points through the course of the game. So in this case, if I had a stronghold in this position, I'm going to score 3 victory points every single round until someone lays a tile over it, adds to it, or does something a little bit different. Now, one of the things we need to mention here is when you're placing a tile, you cannot score victory points for someone else's stronghold. So in this case, if this tile were to be placed here and a stronghold's already claiming that red area, this person couldn't score 4 victory points because the stronghold is there. Not even the person that owns the place can score the victory points, but they can score them during the assessed strongholds portion of their turn.
Exactly. It's important to note that the assessed strongholds portion is a different section of the scoring. So you're effectively going to double up your scoring for that section every time unless people mess with it, divide it up with other tiles.
The last step that happens on your turn is you're going to refill your hand from one of the face-up tiles that are available or one of the face-down, but only if you've used one of your large tiles. And you're going to keep going around the board until you get through this entire stack, and then you're going to dig through this stack until the Gunkimono tile comes up. That's going to look like this. When that happens, you're going to finish out the round so every player has the same number of turns, and then you're going to assess victory points. You're going to see how far you've progressed on the victory point track, plus any of these that you've claimed. Now, we kind of skimmed over that, but once your marker reaches the highest spot available, you're going to take the first available token.
Yeah, so if you're one of the first ones to get there, you're going to get a token that says 11 to 15, and you know that on the back of the tile, it's going to be somewhere between 11 and 15 points. The second tokens are 6 to 10, and then the last tokens available are going to be 1 to 5 points. So there's a little randomness there, but it is also still a race to get up there, not to mention the fact that if you do that, you'll have gotten your strongholds out as well.
Which are super important. So what do you think?
Yeah, I like it a lot. My favorite thing about this thing is it is fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great game as well, but it plays super fast. This is one of those games where if you play with people who get tired of waiting for everyone else's turn, you're still waiting for everyone else's turn. This is not a simultaneous play or anything like that. But it's fast. In fact, I can't imagine there being a lot of AP to enter in a game like this. Yeah. There's really not a lot of diverse decisions you have to make about where you want to put your tile. I mean, there is some decision making there, but usually you've got a strategy that you're sticking with. You've got a big, large area of one color, and you're usually building onto that until another player interacts with you and maybe divides that up, and then you need to go elsewhere or fix that area.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's not a lot of decision making on where you're going to place the tile, but there is decisions, especially earlier in the game. Do you want to use your tile to gain honor, to be able to claim those large areas first, knowing that people are going to probably break them down through the course of the game so you're not scoring as many victory points? Or do you want to play kind of a longer game where you're trying to get victory points early and then waiting for those to build out so you can put those strongholds later in the game? And as simple as that may sound, it's very strategic when you start playing the game, because you start laying these tiles down and you start seeing these large sections build off, knowing that you may not be able to reach a stronghold before another player, so if someone's going to claim those large sections early, so you have to really decide when you're playing the game.
Yeah, it's really interesting. In fact, in your first couple plays, I would be willing to bet a couple, maybe 3 players are going to be building off of one giant section, scoring points upon points upon points every round, the same section for all 3 of them. And then one guy is going to be over here going up the honor track, and eventually he's going to put his fortress in that section so he can score that over and over and over. Now, one thing that should be noted, too, is there's some strategy in how you build your sections. There's going to be color areas that just kind of develop that no one's paying attention to, and you can tap into those and score a lot of points. Another thing is you want to be careful about how you build your colored sections. If someone were to build one big, long vertical stripe of a colored section, that's so easy to break up. With one tile placement, someone could cut off most of that from your scoring.
And there's also a unique strategy in the game, too, by the levels of the tiles. So if you can build an area where it's got unique different levels, it's really hard to place a tile that is even without using one of your things here. So if you can build them in weird formations, you can kind of prevent people from getting in your area and blocking your scoring through your strongholds.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because these individual tiles, I found a couple decent uses for those. One, obviously in a pinch if you want to use them as support like we've described. But another thing to note, these are all 2 honor tokens, and they're also individual, so you can place them very strategically at times to connect another big area of a certain color to your area of a certain color.
Or also advance up rapidly on his honor track as well. So, guys, that's it's a very simple abstract game called Gunkimono, or however you want to pronounce it. 2 to 5 players, plays in about 45 to 60 minutes. If you guys have any questions about the game, make them in the comments below. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, check it out at Gen Con, and we will catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.